Yo, what is up, everybody? John from Tau Tactics here, bringing you another video. Today we've got a cool one. We're going to do the Tau Detachment Tier List way too early, right after the Balanced Data Slate has come out. One thing that I'm going to do for you guys as we're going through these detachments, I'm going to provide you with one list that you can try out, things that I'm thinking about, and lists that I'm considering experimenting that I think are strong while we go through each of these lists, so you have a little bit of direction on where to go and what to try out if one of these detachments particularly interests you. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into it. So first and foremost, we have Kauyon. I think Kauyon is a perfectly solid detachment. I myself don't have a ton of experience with it other than playing in an index, so I'm going to defer to the other folks out there in the internet. From what I've seen from Kauyon, it still seems like it's pretty strong to me, like a very solid detachment. Being able to use the exemplar of the Kauyon to have a unit early on that can deny your opponent or at least be a deterrent for them pushing you early, and then really strong stratagem suite with +1 AP, picking up, uppy downing, a ghost keel, stealth suit, +1 to wound on a particular objective. Now, the loss of sustain 2 definitely does hurt, but sustain 1 is still solid. Ignoring hit mods is still a solid rule, so I think Kauyon settles itself very comfortably in A tier as an army, and how I'm going to do this tier list is based on, what I think a particular detachment's ability for a competitive player to go XO and X1 is. So I think Kauyon gives you a really good shot of doing just that. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at Jack from 6 Plus, a list that he built and played on stream. I will link it down in the description below so you guys can go check it out. But spoiler alert, he had some pretty good success into the brand new NIDS detachment. So let's walk through it really quickly. He's got the 3 characters, so he has the Cadre Fireblade with Precision of the Patient Hunter, which he had extra points for. So if you drop that, you have an extra 30 points. You can kind of toy around with adding some different stuff into this list. He's got the Commander and the Cold Star with a Fusion unit, a Sunforge unit with the Exemplar of the Kauyon. This unit goes absolutely ham in that game. It was pretty sweet to actually watch him be able to split fire and deal with a couple monsters pretty effectively. Spoiler alert. The Ethereal with the Solid Image Projection unit, which I think is a really interesting pick. There was a change at one point to abilities that let you redeploy. There were some abilities that let you redeploy after you know who's going first or second, which is extremely strong, and there were some abilities that had you do that before that happens. And at that point, when that change happened, people kind of left those enhancements abilities in the dust. But Jack thinks it's pretty strong, and after kind of hearing his argument, I do think it's really strong as well. So, for example, you have a unit of Pathfinders, you have the 2-man Piranha unit, and you have the Ghost Keel. So that little package is really good early game for threatening your opponent's natural expansion, or just being like a threatening little damage package early on in the game. So being able to redeploy all 3 of those wherever you want, based on where your opponent's deploying their trash, their early scoring units, and being able to take those out early, I think is really great idea. It also has the benefit of, with the Pathfinder team specifically, if you do go first, you can just string them across no man's land and just block as much of it out as possible, knowing that you have a redeploy. So you get a lot of value out of pushing out their infiltrators. So let's just walk through the rest of this list. He's got the Breacher team, which is going with Cadre Fireblade in a Devilfish. He's got a Pathfinder team, the triple stealth suits. You're still always gonna see those in my opinion. One Vespid team for the efficient uppy downy and screening. The triple solo broadsides, which I really love. I tried those out myself. It's really nice to be able to adjust to a different target if you do overkill something. And because they have a small footprint, typically I would run into the issue of 2 of them moving 5 inches, like staging them. You would usually only get like one into the open, and the other one would either you'd have to stage in a way where you're leaving him out in the open, or that unit wouldn't be shooting unless it had assault. So it's really nice that you can just stage these guys in little pockets, step them onto ruins, step them around corners, and get activating really quickly. The Sunforge unit, which just goes ham in this detachment with Sustained. The Ghost Keel, Double Piranha, which I think are really strong right now, especially because you got the 4 Seekers. You can split those off into one target, and it is a really good answer for taking out transports early, which is a problem that we have. He's got the Double Riptide. So if you're looking at Kauyon, you're like, hey, I kind of want to try this stuff out, I highly suggest checking out this list by Jack. Next, we got Mont'ka. I think Mont'ka got a lot better from the recent changes. The reason being is the list archetype that I myself am used to and kind of stole from Richard Siegler, who's one of the top Tau players in the world, is the triple Riptide, triple Hammerhead. So one of the issues that you would run into in previously before they changed the guiding mechanic is you would only be getting 3 of those units a stealth suit guide, so only 3 of them would be rerolling once hit and wound. So if you flubbed on those 3 activations, now you're relying on just hitting on 3s and probably wounding on 5s in a lot of cases with no rerolls to finish off targets, which can be a risky proposition if you're stepping all your damage out at one time. So now that you have those 3 reroll ones to hit and reroll ones to wound targets, you're probably putting a couple of hammerheads into one, a couple of riptides into another, and a riptide and a hammerhead into the third one. Feels really good, especially with Chaos Knights coming out and Imperial Knights on the horizon as potential codices. I think Mont'ka is going to be a really good counter to those types of lists. Also, I am really interested in trying out the new um, the new sustained enhancement. I've seen people put it on Cadre Fireblades, but I have another place I'd like to put it. But without further ado, let's put let's put Mont'ka right above Kauyon. I think it is just straight up a stronger detachment. Right now in this game, having lethals and assault, and the ability to have a 4th strong guide. So let's take a look at the list. So as I mentioned, I am not putting this on a Cadre Fireblade. I'm actually putting this on a Commander and Enforcer battlesuit. So this might be I might be having tunnel vision a little bit here, but I think this particular situation I'm going to tell you about happens quite often in an early game, and I think being able to capitalize on going first and get your opponent to step stuff out is really important. So what I envision doing with this, let's say for example, a game that I had into Death Guard. My opponent went first, but let's say I go first here. So I'm going first. I scout my Kroot onto the midfield objective. I sticky it, and I move away. And my opponent has their Poxwalkers ready to go onto the middle objective and unsticky it. And what I'm going to do is be really aggressive with this Commander Enforcer unit, and I'm going to put them all within 12 of the midfield objective and in cover ideally, so that I'm giving my opponent an interesting question. I'm asking them, sure, you can try to unsticky the middle. If you do, I'm going to overwatch you with 10d6 flamer shots at 411. If you decide not to do that, you're going to give me a 15 on primary turn 1 or turn 2, which feels really great to me. If you decide to step out all your guns to shoot this unit, I'm going to have armor, contempt, and cover into all those shots. So you're unlikely to kill that whole unit itself. I'm probably going to leave the character who can then pop out and guide later on. At which point, I feel really good that you fell for my trap because now I'm shooting you with 3 hammerheads and 3 riptides. So I get to have the first real strike, and you're not really taking a full unit off the table, most likely. Unless you're getting like 3 bloat drones and a charge off, which most of the time, Death Guard isn't in the position to charge you with things like Plague Marines, or usually their Terminator units are in deep strike, so they're not really pushing the table early. So it really gives a really good tempo swing. And then in general, I think just having the 4th solid guide in your back pocket is really great for when you do swing up on the stealth suit guide. So like let's say you take out all the stealth suit guiding targets, you have a 4th unit that you can redirect your damage dealers to, where you're still getting a decent guide, which is at least sustained into that target specifically. Next, we've got the 2 carnivore units. One of these can be a unit of Espit, I think, but I do like having just the bodies to screen in the backfield, also push up late game, and Sticky is just a really strong ability. So I highly recommend trying that out. I just like having bodies in my lists. Next, I've got a Breacher team to go threaten my opponent's natural, or do something in the middle, threaten their staging. We got the obligatory guiding package. We don't need to talk about that. We got the Star Scythe. And then we've got the triple hammerhead, triple riptide, double piranha, devilfish. So another thing that got better with this change, another damage piece, is all of the seeker missiles, those 6 seeker missiles from the piranhas and the devilfish, now are most likely going to get reroll once hit and wound, and most likely are going to contribute in a meaningful way to the fight, which feels really great to me. I love piranhas right now. I think that there are 3 secondaries that are pretty tough for Tau to score. Historically, it's Established Locus, it's Behind Enemy Lines, Display of Might is another one, and then Recover Assets. Because Recover Assets completes immediately, really nice to be able to just Scout 9, move 14, put your Piranha in your opponent's DZ and get 6 points for basically just existing with a Piranha there. feels really great to me. And yeah, I just think overall they're great. They've got the 4 sequel missiles that can go one way. They are pretty efficient into transports again, which we have an issue with. So I really like this list. I haven't tested it out yet. This is the list that I am going to test out when I do. I think it has a lot of play, especially into things like DG, just tons of damage out the wazoo. So highly recommend checking this one out. Next, we've got Retaliation Cadre. So I think Retaliation Cadre got a bit better with the changes, just like all Tau detachments. However, I don't see it as being a detachment that most people will succeed with. I think it has probably the finest line of success. I think it has a high skill ceiling, but the skill floor is very low. I do think it can be competitive if you get reps with it, and I really still like the max suits variant specifically with damage, the damage dealing capabilities. Now, the nerf to 3-inch deep strike still really hurts, but getting the extra AP within 9 inches does actually help a lot with the Star Scythe and Fire Knife units and the Sunforge as well. Strength 10 AP5 is just a really strong profile. So I'm going to slot Retaliation Cadre right into B tier. I think you can still win games with it. I don't think it's super underpowered. I think it does have play. But let's get right into what the list looks like. So this is a list that I tested out. Previously, I'd been running the prototype weapon system on the fusion suits, but I do really like it on 19 shots, excuse me, 23 shots that the commander has. So just a very efficient platform for split firing, in my opinion. With reroll ones, like the unit itself is going to be shooting 24 shots in one direction, reeling one's hit and wound, and then the commander can get reroll ones into a different target. So I think it's really great. You're going to see I'm also taking the other two really good enhancements. I like Starflare on the Cold Star just because the fire and fade is 12 inches, which feels really great. We've got the Cold Star with the internal grenade racks. Now, one thing that really hurts the detachment, as always, in every Tau detachment is CP. My one practice game, I really felt the issue with CP, but this specific list had a really good play into T-Suns because of the 4 broadsides, which do really well into the Mutaliths, and a bunch of anti-infantry, much of which has long range. So, and the reason I put this Starflare on this unit is because it has the plasma, so it wants to get close, take something out. An elite unit has more of an ability to punch up into elite units, I would say. And with the sustain 1 strat, can be really good into those 6-man units of rubrics. I just deleted the uppy downy unit in Grand Coven without thinking twice. I don't even think I rolled the unit. I think I just rolled the Cold Star and took the whole unit out. We've got the double Kroot Carnivores again for the ability to threaten your opponent, right? We don't have Breachers here, so we really want one of these units to be targeting our opponent's natural, denying primary at least one time. Another unit is going to be screening our backfield and moving up later on. We've got the guiding package as always, the triple broadsides. So we've got the 2-man unit, the 2 singles. Just to kind of go back and why I put this unit or why I put this in B tier, it's literally just in B tier because they have Fire and Fade. Fire and Fade is just a very good mechanic. It's very good on crisis suits. It helps you trade efficiently. And if you early game step out your 2 broadsides and you don't need your Fire and Fade anywhere else, you're just Fire and Fading 2 broadsides back to exactly where they were at. So feels pretty damn good to me. And then you got the 5 crisis units. I'm taking gun drone, shield drone on all of them. Now that might be actually a mistake because now with the changes to bring it down, you're only giving up 4 if they're taking tactical, but this list does give up fixed pretty heavily because these all give up 2, so that's 10, and these give up 4 each, that's 30. So, and I believe these give up 2, so it's 34 plus 6. So yeah, it's giving up 40 and 20. So maybe not take the shield drone on the last guy. Maybe you do take the market drone just to disincentivize your opponent from taking fixed, because I think that get a little hairy. But yeah, I think this is a strong list. Again, you have to be razor thin with your margins and play it really tight, but I think there's a lot of play there. Does a lot of damage. Benefited really well from the changes to the slate. Oxcadre, I've been playing Oxcadre for a while now. I just picked up a practice game into Death Guard with them, got the win there. And I'm going to show you the list that I built specifically to beat Death Guard and why I built it that way. I think it's really solid. Now, as far as like giving you a chance to go X and XO X1, I think it's similar to Retaliation Cadre in that it does require you to be an experienced pilot to be successful. I'll give you an example, right? So Death Guard specifically, they have a bunch of good Overwatches all over the place. So there is a strategy to get around that, but it is kind of hard to pull off. So what it is using things like bloat drones or rhinos as a launching off point for interlocking maneuvers. So rather than what I would typically do is auto advance 6, move 13 inches, and block off half the table with a Kroot carnivore unit, for example, knowing that they can overwatch and just kill that unit. Can't really do that anymore. So what you do is you charge a rhino, use interlocking maneuvers to then move 7 inches at the end of the phase so that they can no longer overwatch you. Now, that's kind of difficult to pull off, costs you CP, but it is a way that we can play around it and still be effective. So I think personally that it slots right below Kauyon, as far as like giving you the ability to be successful uh, in a tournament as an XO X1 player. I've done it myself. I think that with enough reps, you can do it too. And let's all show you exactly the list that I put together. So we've got Commander and Cold Star with Admired Leader, which I still think Admired Leader is really good. There's plenty of play there with setting up stealth suits outside or within 18 inches of your opponent's natural expansion, within an 18-inch lone op aura. It's very easy to set up, and sometimes your opponent just doesn't have the answer to deal with them. So then you can auto advance 6, give them extra OC, and put 10 OC on your opponent's natural, and easily get up on the primary game against them, which is the game that this wants to play. The double carnivore unit, again, really like them. I took double pathfinders here, one to hold my natural, one to infiltrate. Um, yeah, I have the grav inhibitor in here. Yeah, I just think I do think pathfinders got better. They're in this list. I take a bunch of indirect, so being able to scout pathfinders aggressively, spot something, shoot them themselves and put all your indirect gives you a much higher likelihood of actually taking out a particular target. So it kind of raises their damage threshold on what they could potentially kill if you combine them with the indirect. So I really like that little combo. You got the 3 stealth suits, double Vespid. One of them usually hangs out late game. The other one, if I'm given the opportunity, denies primary immediately. 3 units of Rampagers. I One thing that I've kind of learned as I play them more and more is I don't really think you want them near your own natural expansion at all. They seem to just die really easily when your opponent comes at you, and they don't really counter punch very well. I like putting one in strat reserves and having one hang around the middle, one kind of hang between the middle and your opponent's natural as a trash clearing unit, and I think they're really effective at that. Next, we got the Fire Knife unit. Really nice to have a unit that has 20 shot, or excuse me, 18 shots. No, it is 20 shots at 722 with 4 rerolls to hit. Really good at clearing stuff like Plague Marine units and the Uppy Downy unit, the Chink in Their Armor squad from Gene Stealer Cult, the 10-man unit from Demons. I can't remember the one that splits. Um, really effective into those types of units, and I think like just flips matchups where those units are like linchpins in your opponent's army. Next, we got the double hammerhead with the ion cannons, really great. Into DG specifically, you're getting these to 10 strength 10 on the ion, strength 10 in the ion accelerator. So you're getting one really efficient one really efficient activation into a bloat drone, taking them out, and then the Riptides are here for those 4-wound Terminator units, so they can take those out super easily. And then the Skyrays, again, just super efficient in those bloat drones because they fly, so you're getting full rules dead against them. So really like this list. Definitely recommend trying it out. You can play with points a little bit, but this is, for me, this is what's comfortable in my book. Next, we've got Experimental Prototype Cadre. So I think Experimental Prototype Cadre is solid. I think it is probably the highest. It is the highest damage cap of any Tau detachment. I will say I am not a huge fan of it for one particular reason. Is the detachment rule itself is just much weaker than the other ones. I would say that the stratagems can be stronger, and they are stronger, but as we've kind of discussed previously, we have a CP problem. So relying on the stratagems within the detachment, to me, is a hindrance, just because you aren't going to be using them as effectively because you won't have as much CP. I think that it is a fun detachment. I don't think it gives you the best chance to win because it doesn't have strats like Fire and Fade, which is basically like free trading. You get to kill a unit, your opponent can't kill you back. Um, Interlocking maneuvers, where you can play with your opponent's primary. That being said, I think there is a strong archetype for experimental prototype cadre, and I think that specific archetype is Max Breachers. It's a list that Noah, who's a friend of mine, a great Mont'ka player as well, has put together. So I would lean towards that one. I'll show you guys where that is. But I think as far as going XO and X1 with this list, I'm going to have to put it down in C tier. I think it gives you the least chance out of all these lists to go XO X1, just because that it doesn't have some of the tricks that you need as Tau. Like you can step out and do a lot of damage, but your opponent doesn't have to have that many units to take you out on the clapback. But that being said, I think this is the best list that you can put together, or one of the best lists for Prototype Cadre. So we've got a Cadre Fireblade, we've got triple Breacher Fish, we've got 3 Devilfish. Again, all got better with the extra Seeker missiles, so much more efficient damage. We've got 4 commanders, one of them with Cold Stars going with Fire Knives, with 4 missile pods. With the full hit rerolls, they do super well with these stratagems, with +1 strength, +1 AP, and reroll hits, and then lethal or sustained, or lethal and sustained with reroll hits. Just love this, love the stratagem suite here. We've got the triple commanders. We've got one that's going with a bunch of flamers, with the super flamer, which is one of the ways you can guarantee primary is just pointing this unit at your natural and saying, would you like to put a unit of trash here, because they're not going to make it. Next, you've got a solo enforcer commander with fusion blades. Again, super sick with the 5 fusion shots, with extra strength on him. He's already got the strength 11 Melta. Can go to strength 12, and with the real ones to hit and wound, still does really great. As just an efficient damage piece. We've got the Enforcer Commander with the Plasma unit with the extra plasma shots, the typical guiding package right here, and then we've got the double Fire Knife, Star Scythe, double Hammerhead with Railguns. Now, I think the Hammerhead with Railguns, they could be something else. They could be Sky Rays, they could be Ion Hammerheads, but overall, I think this list does what Prototype Cadre wants to do, which is do a lot of damage, threaten your opponent's staging points. Breachers also receive the buffs very well with lethal and sustain because you don't really care if they die. But it is tough to have to take hazardous to get some of these buffs from the stratagems. Like the crisis suits really don't want to do that because they all have a bunch of guns. You're rolling 10d6, right? The likelihood of you rolling 2 1s and losing a suit is more likely than not. So I don't know. I think that out of all of the detachments, it doesn't give me a ton of, um, let's say, I don't see it as there's like a ton of high level play here. This is just I'm gonna blow you off the table, and it does that pretty well. So if that's something you're interested in, I would try this list out. I think this is one of the best lists that you can take. And last but not least, we have the Kroot Hunting Pack. So there's a reason I left the Kroot Hunting Pack till last. I think the Kroot Hunting Pack is straight up S tier. Now, the reason I think the Kroot Hunting Pack is straight up S tier is Drew Salzborn has shown it to be S tier by consistently doing well in tournaments with it. I think that he's right that their 27 T6 5 wound bodies with a 5 up invul is just really, really hard for a lot of armies to chew through. And his list got better because similar to Mont'ka, he has the 3 Sky Rays and the 3 Hammerheads. Those only 3 of them used to get guides, and he had Shadow Sun, which would give reroll ones to hit. But now all of those units are getting the rerolls, reroll ones to hit, reroll ones to wound, and the ignore cover. So I think the list straight up got better. We did have to change it a little bit because of what changed with the stealth suits going up in points. So what I did was I dropped Shadow Sun, which if you wanted to, I believe the points work out at 60 points. If you drop a If you dropped a stealth suit unit, you could pick Shadow Sun back up, which isn't terribly inefficient because the Sky Rays are already rerolling wounds, so you don't really need the stealth suit guides for them. That being said, I think the stealth suits just giving out the rerolls ones to hit is really great, and the ignore cover, which is an important piece of that. So Kind of depends on what you like. I don't think that either is a bad choice, but I do like the Trail Shaper to go with the Carnivore unit just to give you redeploys, so you can redeploy some of your Rampager units in a more aggressive position or a little bit more defensively. It gives you a little bit of utility for losing Shadow Sun. But yeah, here's the list, right? It's just 27 gorillas. They're coming fast. They're coming hard. They're gonna hit you, and they're gonna be really hard to remove. So I think this is probably Tao's strongest archetype. It's a really good stat check right now. Again, just T6 5 wounds is just a gross breakpoint for a lot of armies. With the 5 up invul, I think just really pushes them over the edge. Now that's going to do it for today's video, everybody. Appreciate you sticking through it. If you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate it if you liked, comment, subscribed. Really appreciate all the support lately. It's really cool to see the channel grow, see more folks join the Discord. So if you'd like to support me, check out my Patreon down below. Check out Secondhand Geek, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.